No. What did you say no to? What you disagree with, brother?
What's going on, man?
I'm
I've
doing
been
good.
listening to you for a while. First of all, how you doing, brother? My name's Rico.
I'm doing good, Rico.
Look, men don't live longer in marriages. Most of the time, the man is the first one gone in the marriage. It's a
What?
lot of women who are widowed. Less men are widowed than women are. First of all, because men don't go to doctor. That takes us out. First of all, okay, so that's not true. And as far as men draining women, men don't. Let me put it this way: most healthy people don't drain people. Okay, healthy people know how to coexist and live comfortably together. If you
Okay.
are in a relationship where you're being drained, male or female, you need to look at you, not the other person, because you're allowing yourself to be drained.
That doesn't make sense.
What you mean it don't make sense? Explain to me how it don't make sense if you're in a relationship with somebody who's draining you
Mhm.
and you know they're draining you and you
Mhm.
stay, you still blaming them?
Of course.
Why? Why'd you stay? If you're being drained, why would you stay? Why would you stay in a situation where you're uncomfortable?
Kids, love, money.
Uh, First of all, you know what? That's the first time I've heard love on this app ever. Ain't
That's
nobody even got
lies.
together. Don't nobody even on this app get together for love.
On this app, I don't
Yes.
use. I would never. I'm married, but if I were single, I would never date anybody on TikTok. And that's no shade to anybody on TikTok. I'm saying I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't date anybody who I met on TikTok at all. Like I don't. Every time I got one person that they met their person on TikTok. Everybody else is wild. I'd be like, yeah, that's crazy. Meeting people on TikTok is wild. So I don't know what you're talking about, but
Well,
we do talk
look,
about love though.
I'm married. I'm married too, man. I'm married too. Okay, love my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Have a
Okay.
great time, with my wife.
Okay.
I married my wife for love. Okay, that's
Yeah.
why I married my wife.
Okay. And what do you love about your wife?
What do I love about my wife, man? Do we got time for me to tell you about what I love about my wife?
Give
I
me
love
three
her.
things. Three things.
I love her intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I love her compassion for human beings,
Mm-hmm.
and I love her love of God. That's three
Okay.
things.
Respectable. And so I'm curious to understand if somebody is draining you, then why wouldn't the person that's doing the draining be to blame?
Well, here's the thing. Both parties are when first of all, whenever there's a relationship, both parties have blame. Both parties have blame.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because you as an individual, let me ask you a question. If somebody's holding your hand and
Uh-huh.
they're squeezing your hand too tight and it's hurting you,
Okay.
instead of taking your hand away, you just complain about them hurting your hand. Does that make sense?
What if they're squeezing your hand so tight that you can't pull away?
Um, there's no such thing.
There is a such thing.
No, there's no such thing.
There is a such thing.
There's
There's no
100%
such
of
thing.
such thing. What are you talking about?
No, it's not
Happens
such
all the
thing.
time.
There's literally such thing.
It's not a such thing.
If you look it up, men
If
actually men have men
if
have
you
tight
want
men
to,
tend to have tighter grips than women. Like
Yeah, what do you
quite
mean,
literally.
brother?
They do.
wait a minute, hold on. We're not talking about. First of all, I think we're
Use a
getting
different
sidetracked.
analogy.
It
Rico,
was
use
just
a
a
different
bad
analogy.
analogy. I
Let's
was
go
just
with a
a bad
That was
different
a
analogy.
bad
analogy because
analogy.
now
That
we're
was a bad
going to go
analogy.
It was
into
a terrible
Yeah,
the
analogy.
use a different analogy.
yeah,
I didn't like
yeah.
that analogy.
Let's go
Use a
that.
different.
Okay, let's go with
Okay.
this. Um, um, kind of hard to think of an analogy that's going to work for either for you.
It's tough.
Hmm.
Because here's the thing:
It's a tough
if
one.
you gotta have a lot of self awareness when it comes to relationships. I've been in relationships that I was drained and I left because I was drained.
Okay.
I wasn't getting fulfilled as much as I was putting out, and
Were
I
you
seen
guys
it was an
living
uneven
together?
situation.
In these
Huh?
other relationships, were you guys living together? Were you guys married? Did you guys have kids? Did you like
Yeah. When we had kids, I took my daughter with me.
mhm.
You know, um, but I wasn't gonna stay in that. I've never stayed in a situation that I was unhappy.
That's
Never.
good. That's good. I'm not. I commend you for having that strength. I commend you for being able to put yourself first in those situations, 100%. And your kid apparently, right? Because
Oh,
nobody,
most definitely. Most
yeah.
definitely.
I
I seen
commend
it.
you.
I seen the
Yeah.
situation wasn't good for either one of us. We
Mhm.
left.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not blaming you. I would blame the person who was draining, right, in this scenario. So no matter what,
Well,
if you
well, I
stay,
blame. But see, I took responsibility for the simple fact that I was allowing it to happen. I seen it was happening, and I stayed longer than I should have. That was my fault.
okay,
That was
but
my
you were
fault.
still draining, but they were still wrong though, brother. You see what
I'm
I'm
not.
saying?
I'm not saying they wasn't wrong.
But
I'm
you
not
weren't
saying they
wrong.
wasn't wrong.
But
See,
Rico, listen to what I'm saying. You weren't wrong. You didn't do any like look at it from a moral standpoint, right? A moral standpoint, right? Are you wrong for staying? Even if
yes.
you stay for morally speaking, you're wrong for
Mo-
staying?
Morally speaking, I am wrong for staying
How?
because I'm enabling that person.
What?
I'm enabling that person. I'm allowing them to leech from my energy.
That's not how that works.
Damn, man, this is
When are people going to take responsibility for their part? It's two parts to a relationship.
it's
Everybody
really
wants to sit
not.
up there and say it's one or the other's fault. No, it's both of y'all fault. Either you stayed too long, or you allowed something, or you didn't
Rico,
see something. It was something.
if somebody
There was
cheats on
something you
you,
can stop,
is that your fault?
huh?
If somebody cheats on you, is that your fault?
The act, no. The
Okay,
reason I
let's keep
probably
going.
had some
It don't
part to
matter.
it.
It don't matter. If somebody cheats
Yeah,
on you,
the
that's
act
their
is
fault.
wrong. Yes.
Fine. If somebody is physically abusing somebody, is that their fault? The person that's getting abused?
No, it's the other
Never,
person's fault. The
never.
act is their fault.
Okay. So how can you say with your full chest that it always goes both ways? That doesn't make sense.
No, I said each person has a part in it. It don't
No.
go both ways. Each person has a part in it.
All right, Rico. Make it make sense. Explain to me what you mean when you say what you're saying. When you say that, because I asked you, if you are the victim in this case, if you are the one who is getting drained, how is it your fault? Morally speaking, what have you done wrong from a moral standpoint? And you said you're enabling that other person. I've never heard that logic before in my life. I don't think that's how it works.
Well, of course, a lot of people want because people just want to say it's somebody else's fault. They have no, you know what? We're not even talking about those who are abused physically. Okay, we're not even gonna go there
I'm not
because
talking about
if
physically
somebody's
abuse.
overpowering you,
Yeah.
then yeah, I mean, yeah,
Emotional
you
abuse,
scared.
financial abuse. There's all different types of abuses. Abuse is abuse. I
No,
had a lady
that is
come on
not
here,
true.
a
That is
hundred,
not true.
a
Abuse is
thousand
not
percent.
abuse because
Abuse
some
is
abuse
abuse.
you can walk away from.
Rico, I had a woman come up here who was physically, and if you're physically abused, you're emotionally abused. It doesn't. There's no differentiating between the two. But you can be emotionally abused and not be physically abused, right?
Yes.
But I had a woman who was both. Like, you know, he would like say stuff to her. You know what I mean? So he was emotionally abusive. He would berate her, things of that nature.
Yeah.
She said that she doesn't even really remember like the physical abuse anymore. She was like, I already forgot. The emotional abuse is what scarred her the most. That's what she said from her perspective, right? So when you say that, when you try to, because what because what a lot of men like to do, because most men actually are abusive, they like to minimize abuse and say abuse they only care about the physical abuse, and they go like I've said 1,000 times, I don't cheat, I don't beat, and I got a job. And they try to go, therefore, I'm a good man, Savannah. And I'm telling you that most men are abusive or have been abusive. If they're not actively abusive now, they have been abusive in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether it be manipulative, whether it be coercion, whether it be emotional, whether it be financial. Men abuse women all the time. Happens all the time in relationships. Neglect is abuse as well, right? So there are many forms of abuse. So saying that, oh no, that's not abuse, and it ain't the same. brother, it's the same. It be showing up as the same in people. Women be getting sick. They be physically unalive. They be, you know what I'm saying? They be getting sick from that stuff. So how you gonna say it's not the same? I'm not understanding. It's the same. It has very, very similar effects on the mind and body. The emotional abuse, right? So the thing that I'm trying to understand from you, cheating is abuse as well. Thank you, Vanity. The thing that I'm trying to understand from you, Rico, is why are you so hell bent on blaming victims? Why are you so hell bent on this? Like, well, you should have got out of there. Why is it that? Why is it not focusing on the people who are actually doing the harm?
Maybe because I have a problem with the word victim. Probably, yeah.
What do you mean?
Um, if you're in an abusive relationship, I can see where the fear would stop you from getting out of that relationship. Okay, if you're in a relationship where you're being neglected, then why are you staying? There's nothing. There's nothing physically restraining you to being. I mean, of leaving if somebody's neglecting you. They're not around. They're not giving you anything you need. Why do you stay?
Are you asking me? Because I can tell you why.
Yeah, yeah,
Why they might stay.
yeah. Why they might say?
So being manipulated is a way that people end up staying in these relationships, right? So like I know we throw around the term gaslighting a lot, but people are gaslit, and that's why they stay. That's one of the that's just one of the reasons why they stay.
And,
They're
and and that person just don't have no responsibility for allowing themselves to be gaslighted.
No. Nope. None. Absolutely none.
talk to him.
Zero. Because the way that gaslighting works is that it takes you on a bit of a roller coaster. So it takes a very common argument or a common idea, and it continuously takes you through these loops of, am I making a big deal of this? Is this a really huge like, a person who's gaslighting you will lead you to believe that what you're experiencing, either you're not experiencing it or you're over exaggerating the experience. Like that's how, first of all, that's how people end up in those abusive relationships. Physically abusive relationships do not start with, I met you, I took you out on a date, and now I'm hitting you. That's not how that starts. It always starts with manipulation. It always starts with gaslighting, and it's not that bad and it's not that deep, and maybe they'll just get better. You're overreacting. I do all of these things. I pay bills. I take care of you, and yeah, you have to do these things for me, but that's all you have to do. It shouldn't be that hard for you to make sure that I don't cheat on you. It shouldn't be that hard for you to make sure I'm happy when I'm doing this and this and this and that. Like, that's not a hard concept. But I think that for a lot of people, because of the fact that when you identify with the power that an abuser uses, I think it's very easy to see victims as annoying people. Because why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just have the power to get out? Why didn't you just, walk away? Why didn't you just, it's always a why didn't you? It's always a you could have. Whereas when you empathize and understand how people are victimized and abused, you start to look at the abuser very differently. You go, how could you lead people to believe that you're this person and be a monster at home? How could you do this thing to somebody who trusted you, who believed you, who thought that you were a good person, and you turn on them like this? Like, that's usually how that switch kind of flips, because immediately you go to, this is a really sick, twisted thing. Like, there's no way that a person who loves somebody this much would do that to somebody that they love. Because yeah, okay, it could be considered crazy that you stay in a relationship with somebody who's gaslighting you and manipulating you. Maybe they're cheating, maybe they're beating. However, what's crazier is staying in a relationship with somebody that you have to track all the time, that you putting your hands on, that you lying to. You mean to tell me that it makes sense to tell the victim that, and this is a rhetorical question, that they are wrong for staying, but it's not crazy to look at people who are doing the victimizing, who are doing the abusing, to go, Why are you wasting your time in a relationship where you got to do all this to somebody? So you want to be with this lady, you want to be with this person, but you gonna sleep with them one day and then you gonna lie and go sleep with somebody else the next day? Or you gonna hide money? Or you gonna, try to manipulate them or try to isolate them? Ain't that a lot of work? Like that sounds much crazier than somebody who believes that a person could change, because we all have the capacity to believe that a person could change or be better. Otherwise, those other relationships that you say that you were gaslit in, you wouldn't be in another relationship. You would never get into another relationship with another person, because you would sincerely be like, you know what? Nobody's ever going to do that to me again. But you take the chance because you're like, okay, somebody else is better. There are good people out there somewhere that will treat me like a person. We know that happens with people, and people do the same thing in relationships. But the only problem is that more people identify with the power of an abuser than the isolation of a victim.
Facts. And let me I wanna get to this real quick. This poll, should victims of abuse take accountability? 100% said no. Just FYI. I just think I think that goes without saying,
Of course.
Rico, right? Like I don't think we should be um coming from a place of being, and it was, what's so funny, because the gentleman that was up here earlier, DJ, he was saying how men are empathetic and sympathetic, and this is why I be saying men aren't empathetic, because this is literally, we're talking about empathy right now, like men having empathy. And Rico, you said you were a victim of this stuff. That's the thing that always blows my mind, is how men will say, "Oh, I was a victim of that," but then lack all empathy for every other victim. I'm like,
Well,
what?
see, first of all, the difference is I don't look at myself as a victim. Yeah, I got with the wrong person and some things happened. And once I realized that I was with the wrong person and this wasn't gonna get no better, I left. That's why I'm not looking at. And first of all, let me be very clear for those who are listening. If you are a victim of DV or any other abuse, I am not I'm not saying that it's your fault. Okay, that person's a bad person. I am strictly speaking on people who are being gaslit and stay. I ain't talking about the ones that's being chased down and DV'd. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not. And I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry about the woman who got cheated on.
Can I ask you,
But
Rico,
but once she got cheated on 7 times, you say she don't have no accountability in that situation?
no, I mean, if I'm her friend, I'm like, girl, leave. But at the same time, the dude is still the one who is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like, at some
no,
point in time, don't
no.
get me wrong, Rico. Listen
I'm
to what
not
I'm saying.
saying that he's not wrong.
Hold
I'm
on,
just
listen,
saying it's only so
Rico,
much
hold on,
wrong a person gonna do to me
wait.
before I'm out.
At some point in time, I'm going to tell her. I'm sorry. At some point in time, I'm going to check out. At some point in time, I'm going to be like, "Hey, you got it. Appreciate you, Katrina. Thanks for the cash app." At some point in time, I'm gonna check out mentally. Stop asking me, right? At some point in time, don't get me wrong, but I will never blame her for getting cheated on. I don't care if it's 30 times. I will never blame her for getting cheated on. He chose to cheat every single time. You see what I'm saying? I could separate the two. They're not the same thing. I could say, damn, I don't know what's going on with her. I'm gonna chalk it up to she got something going on mentally. Like
Yeah,
something's off, right? Like no
bro.
doubt, if she's gonna stick around for
Where
that, if they can leave.
where
So
you missing is I'm not blaming her for being cheated on. I'm blaming her for staying. That's the blame.
that's the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It is the same
It
thing.
is not.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I know
Not the
if I
same thing.
stand beside
Am I
you,
missing
me and
something?
you are two guys. If I stand
Okay.
beside you and you keep punching me in my arm, and I continue to stand beside you, I'm the blame. I'm saying two guys.
You're not to blame. You're not to. You're using a. I think you're
See,
almost. Look,
see,
Rico. I want to give you the. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. I think I understand what you're trying to get at, but you're using the language you're using is bad. Because you
Okay.
wouldn't be to blame in that scenario. The person who punched you is still to blame.
Yeah, the person who punched me is doing wrong. Yes, they are. But I'm allowing them to continue to do me wrong.
The
Hold
police
on.
wouldn't even see it that way.
That's what I'm saying. Full stop. You said it, and then you just there was no but. There was no but that needed to be added in that statement. That was a complete statement in and of itself. That person was wrong for punching you.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
We're done. There's no but after that. Right? That's how it works. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how simple it is.
Physically, yes. Physically, yes.
Rico.
But
Sir.
look, you know what? I'm with you on the DV part. There's no blame in that because most of the women are scared to procedures. Okay, even a woman whose mind ain't all that strong and he verbally abuses her, I give her that too. But if a
Verbal
person's
abuse has
cheating on
nothing to
you
do with a strong
and they
mind, by
keep
the way.
cheating on you and you keep knowing it and you allow it to happen, I'm not gonna give you a pass on that. You ain't even gonna give her a pass. You said you're gonna check out on her. That's the
I
same way
am.
as saying it's on her.
No,
You
no, no,
still
no, no,
said
no,
it's
no,
on
no.
her.
I have to protect I gotta put myself, Lucius. I gotta put myself first, right? I'm saying at some point for my own mental sanity, don't ask me about like like I've been in that situation where the homies will come to me about their girl or whatever, and I'll be like, bro, you need to leave. Y'all are done. She ain't the right one. Whatever. I told people that 20 years ago. Yeah, she ain't the right one. Fast forward 20 years later, they're having the same arguments. Stop talking to me about that. I'm not blaming him. You know what I'm saying? Like she's still wrong or whatever the case may be, but I'm not blaming him. I just don't want to hear about it no more. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean that I would ever like if I were to ever like if this was a court of law or something like that, it's 100% him. I would never blame her or him. I'm sorry, I would never blame him if she was the one that was wronging him this whole time. I would never he would never be guilty in my mind. Right? And like BPG just said, the police wouldn't do that. Like the court in the court of law, that wouldn't happen. And I understand that, reality in the court of law, whatever. So
I was getting
um
ready to say now, you
yeah,
know
don't
darn
get me
well the
wrong.
court of law.
I know
That's
it's different.
Well,
I gotta
well,
be careful.
to clarify though, to clarify in a court of law, if a man in the scenario that a man is you're out and maybe you at a concert or something, you someplace in a public space. If a man walks up to you and he hits you and then he walks away and he comes back and he hits you again and he walks away, he comes back and he hits you again and you call the police, you are more likely to get justice than a woman who's in a relationship with a man who consistently hits her. If she calls the police on that man that she's in a relationship with, that she knows, and she comes to the station with a black eye and bite marks all up her body, and she's black and blue, she is less likely to be able to get justice and to be able to get away from that man than you would be if you were at a random concert and a random man came up to you and hit you.
Facts. Facts. And that's because of like we gotta Rico,
and the difference is if a man came up and punched me in my eye and walked away, I'm not gonna be there when he come back.
But the fault again,
missing the point.
the bigger
So he ain't gonna
picture
get a second
is
chance.
the bigger picture is you
We're almost
being
there.
there, you being there is not the reason why you got punched. You getting punched is not your fault. The whole thing is on the man who decided to come up to you and punch you. It's quite literally all on him. It's like getting into a car accident and the police coming up to your car. Somebody hits your car and leaves, and the police come up to you and they like, you know what? You know this street has had a lot of accidents over here. Why would you come over here? What
Yep.
would be the point of you driving down this street, sir?
At
That
five
would never
o'clock,
happen.
you drove up, you drove up MLK Boulevard at 5 o'clock. You should have known better. Like
In
that
the
would be wild.
evening? Sir,
In
you
the
should be
evening,
eating dinner at this time.
But
that would be crazy.
if I'm walking down a dark alley with gold dripping off of me, and
Uh,
and
don't do it.
and somebody
Don't do it,
takes it from
Rico.
me, it's
Rico,
not
don't
Why
my
are
do
you
it.
in a
fault.
Scooby mystery though?
Don't do it, Rico. I'm trying
There
to
are
help you. Don't do it.
situations. Look, there are situations where you have no chance of avoiding something. A car crash, you have no chance of avoiding if somebody rides
You
up on
do.
you and your blind side hit you.
You
That
do.
that there just like anything else, there are some things that you can avoid and some things you can't. If you dating
Right, man.
somebody and they get a hold of you and they physically abusing you, there's nothing you can do about that. If
Why
you
do we keep
continue to
going
come
to
back,
physical abuse?
it's the repetitiveness that I have a problem with um saying that it's the other person. The first time they do it, yes, the other person. The 50th time they do it, you need to look at yourself.
The 50th time they do it, you've been beat up 50 times.
At the end of the day, like,
You've been beat
come
up
on,
50
bro.
times. Do you think that
And
somebody who gets hit consistently
you keep on going
49
back with the
times in a
hitting. I
row,
said I'd already see y'all don't know how to separate stuff.
somebody
Hey
is
Hitting
called
Rico, is
somebody
that a
Rico.
being hit
hey
and
Rico, hold on,
somebody
wait,
being
Rico.
cheated on is
Rico,
two different
Rico.
things.
Rico, wait, is that a pager? Or
He
what
got
kind
a
of
house
phone is that?
phone.
That's a house phone. I thought that was a
Got a
page.
house phone. Yeah.
Y'all remember them old pagers? The dope ones though.
Hmm.
I had two. I had the black, the dope dealer one, and I also had the one for the women that you could slide out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was, and I had, it was blue. That sounded like that ringtone from that pager. That's that pager because you could change the ringtone in there. I remember that. That sounded like a beeper. I
Actually,
remember
it's a
that.
work.
I thought
Actually,
Rico
it's a work
had
phone. Actually, it's a work
that.
phone. Okay, it was
It
a work
sounded
phone.
like a work. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I was like, damn,
Who in the hell
that
got a
phone
house
sound
phone?
familiar.
Girl, stop it.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
you say
This
that.
ringtone
So
crazy.
here's the plot twist. It's 2024 and the phone is ringing. I haven't heard my phone physically ring
Cool minute.
since 2011, maybe.
Cool minute.
Maybe. It's always on
Cool
vibrate.
minute. That definitely that was a little different. I'm telling you, we must be too young or something like that. Cause I was like, what? A
Hmm.
ringtone?
Right.
I
Well,
couldn't quite place it.
when you are in a professional setting, your phone may don't
You need
vibrate
that
because
ringtone.
people need you. So
Yep.
therefore, the phone has to ring. Have you ever
Nah, you
have you ever
you're
have
right.
you ever seen a secretary sitting at her desk and her phone vibrated? No, it
Nah, you
rung.
right. Rico, you are a grown man with a real job. I ain't knocking it at all. I'm just saying it just threw us off. That's it. You ain't got to defend it. You got it. As far as I
I
ain't gonna never
mean,
judge.
I don't have a weenus, but I do have a real job. And if, for one, if I'm in a professional setting and the phone starts ringing, I lose my job. So I don't know. Maybe
He
maybe I'm different.
obviously he on call though. That's what he's saying. He need his ringtone.
No,
He need
no, I'm just the one that's in charge, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm in my office right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm the
Big
one in
boss.
charge, so I can do
I see you,
this.
big money. I see you, big money.
There was a
No, it ain't
book.
about money. It's just about being in a position that you can do other things at the same time. That's all.
There was a
Hmm.
book I read. It's called Why Is He So Angry? And it talks about men who abuse, and um a lot of it focuses on, like, the mental gymnastics of like playing those sort of power games, um how men like that, and this is obviously not at all connected at all whatsoever in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And I mean that from the bottom of my sarcasm. But they talk about, like, um how powerful they are and how, like, they can control and manipulate from like every aspect of their life, like even down to like the way that they intentionally create like these amazing sexual experiences just because they like the idea of a partner who is just like, um who is experiencing their power and domination, and how they always have to like emphasize these jobs where, I'm the big man on campus, I'm running the show, because they want to emphasize that level of power. I don't know how this is related at all whatsoever, but I just thought that that book was interesting. It's called Why Are They So Angry?
I
Yeah,
remember
I
you.
don't know. I don't know how that went on either
Me
because
neither.
I got a
because
question
if
for
it
you.
wasn't for the fact that you made a comment about the phone ringing, I was never even going to mention the fact that I was at work. We
All
was
right.
on a
Oh,
whole different
Rico, I got
conversation.
you.
To me,
I'm gonna
that
talk
was
about that.
irrelevant.
It
Yeah, that
is.
was
We
irrelevant.
just she just brought it up because the book was interesting because BBG be reading books. Um, Rico, I got a question for you, brother. Um, who, what, how do you feel about the prompt?
Well, you know what? That's actually what I want to come up here and talk about in the first place. But I'm glad you
Please,
finally got back to
thank you.
that. What I think about the prompts is it's hard to say because most people don't even know what their needs are in a
Hmm.
relationship, and that's the truth. The reason why most people have so many problems with relationships is because they're trying to get into a relationship and figure it out as it goes along. Because people who know what they want in a relationship, they go after people who can provide those things in a relationship. That way, their relationship, their needs is met. Anybody who's having a halfway decent marriage is because there was two people who knew what they wanted when they got into this.
Yeah,
They were
but
like
okay.
minded.
But in general, what do you believe that men do you who do you believe gets their needs met more in a relationship?
In general, I would say women.
You think women get their needs met more?
Yeah.
And what makes you and what leads you to that conclusion?
Um, everything is geared towards women as far as relationships is concerned.
Be specific.
Happy
What do you mean?
wife, happy wife, happy life. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, all that correlates to the leader of the house, which is the woman,
Hold on, wait. I got
the
a question
mother.
for you.
Yeah.
Why do you think they needed to come up with the saying "Happy wife, happy life"?
Because trust me, if you care about your woman, if she's not happy, you're not happy.
I know. So why did you think they needed we're almost there. Why do you think they needed to come up with the saying if women are centered in the relationship? Why would they need to tell men to center women in a relationship?
Because there's a lot of clowns out here.
I,
There's clowns out here that need to know this information.
I know,
Some
but
of them just
Rico,
don't know.
I know, but feel me. It is so many clowns that they needed to come up with a saying to remind men that that we need to pour into our wives and our women, right? So wouldn't that actually show that the relationships aren't actually centered around the women? They're more centered around the men, and that's why you have to remind men, happy wife, happy life, right?
Well, you know what? I would agree with you in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But beyond that, it's men's fault if they in a relationship and their woman's not happy because around the 80s and 90s, I don't know how old you are, but around the 80s and 90s, these things came to the front for as far as men was concerned. Men was actually starting to tell younger men actually how to have a decent relationship with a woman. And it wasn't about me man, you woman,
No, they weren't.
caveman capability. That's how it was around
I
me.
was born in I was in the 80s and the 90s. There wasn't nobody was telling us how to. I was listening to toxic R&B songs. What you talking about? Who was
I
telling us
don't know. I don't
what man was
I don't know what I don't know what type of men you was around, but the type of men I
regular
was
degular
around,
men?
the type of men I was around was teaching us better.
I don't know about that one, brother. I was around the most regular of the most degular men, and they were not telling me anything how to treat women properly at all.
It's
I was
always the
listening to
men they
Keith
know
Sweat on
best.
Father's Day. I was listening to Keith
What
Sweat on
you
Father's Day.
Keep Sweat on Father's Day sound like a good Father's Day. This is crazy. This is wild to me. I'm not understanding. So women's needs are getting met more because relationships are geared towards women, and your proof of that was Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, which there's a Father's Day as well, and Valentine's Day is for
And
both
don't
men
nobody
and
give a
women.
damn about Father's Day.
Why is that though?
But why is that? Yeah, I was about to say, but why is that?
Because everything else is geared to men.
No,
Everything
no,
else
no.
is geared to men.
Hold on, wait. Okay, I'm glad you said that because I said this earlier. Rico, make it make sense. So you mean to tell me that the whole world that like like the hardest working man in show business said once upon a time, it's a man's world, right? You tell me that everything else in society is geared towards men, right? But somehow, some way, in a relationship, the relationship is centered. Women are centered in the relationship. How does that make sense?
Well, it's simple, public. Just like you're a married man,
Mm-hmm.
your wife is the center of you, right?
No,
Your wife is not the center
no,
of your relationship.
no. That's why we fight. That's been my whole thing. Is putting more focus on her. That's a big part of it. Is our this that's where a lot of our disagreements come from. Is me not being attentive enough. Me not.
Well, there you go. That's the reason why men who have this discord in their household is because they're not putting their woman in center of
But
their
most
life.
men don't do it, Rico. That's my point. Most men don't do it. I'm
You
about
know
the
what?
outlier.
You know what? You know what? You probably right. See, I spend so much time making sure that my wife is happy. I don't really pay attention. So you might be right.
That was interesting. Go